Good evening, viewers and listeners, and welcome to another edition of this program, Serving the People, brought to you by me, Anissa Batiste, Senator for the New Democratic Party. Please let us start with a word of prayer. Loving Father in heaven, please grant unto me wisdom and help me to speak the truth to the people, that they may know the truth concerning the importance of patriotism, as well as the importance of integrity of public officers. Have mercy upon us as a nation and help us to do the right things, we pray. In Jesus' name, amen. And now, my dear viewers, let me remind you that you may send me an email by writing to servingthepeople.ab@gmail.com. Or if you wish to call me, you may do so. The telephone number is 1784-528-1015. In this evening's program, I have two segments. Recently, I had a chance to sit down and have a conversation with a Vincentian patriot by the name of Hetty Van Schaik. She's Vincentian by birth, but has lived in Barbados and in America for some time now. She was visiting the island and had a few words of encouragement, as well as words to talk about her charity works that she does on behalf of Vincentians in Arizona, in the United States. Please take a look at this brief interview. I'm here with Miss Hetty Van Schaik, and she's our guest today on Serving the People. Hetty, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
All right, and welcome home.
Thank
That's
you.
the first thing. I understand you're Vincentian. Tell the people about your history in terms of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
I just want to say thank you so much before I say anything about my love for my country. But the thing of it is that I've listened to you over the past year or so, and I've become very passionate about your work.
Okay.
And I'm very, very happy to know that there is another Esther in our modern day society. And I look to you as our Esther.
Thank you.
And I know that the things that God have in store for you is so much greater than people can see and even sense. And I have captured that. I truly believe that you have everything that our young children need to look forward to in the future, to say that this is somebody who have, in the face of adversities, has the courage to say yes and move on. And that's what we need.
Okay.
We need somebody to stand up and say yes.
Thanks
So
for the
I appreciate who you are. I will always be praying for you, and I'll always be praying with you also.
Okay.
So as far as St. Vincent and the Grenadines,
Yes.
I was born in Barley.
Okay.
My mother and my father are from Barley. I went to school in Barley, and my father thought that at a certain time in our lives, he thought he wants to take us to Barbados because he thought that it'll be something better for us as far as education and stuff like that.
Okay.
They'll have more to offer us in Barbados than where we were in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Okay.
And I was very thankful to God that he had done that when he did.
Okay.
But even though I have left St. Vincent and the Grenadines, I truly believe in my heart there is something called patriotism.
Yes.
And I think that my family was very blessed to have been able to move from Barbados. And I have been double blessed to move from Barbados to the United States, where I now reside in Mesa, Arizona. And I always have a heart. I always have a heart for St. Vincent and Grenadines. And so what I do as far as my patriotism is, is pretty much to give back as much as I can.
That's what I was coming to, because I know that one of the purposes of Hetty's visit when she came this time around, she's here for a short time, she brought with her some items that she wanted to be used, to be given to the persons who are needy. And Hetty, I'd like you to tell the public a bit about your work where charity is concerned and giving back to your Vincentian society is concerned.
Well, where I live in Arizona, I do a lot of charity work. And I've often believed that if at one point, as time go along, I'm so passionate, I just want to get everything out.
No problem.
I thought, if I can do this much charity in Arizona, I can do the same thing for SVG.
Yes.
And 11 years ago, I started something with backpacks for kids. And because of some things that didn't work out, because promises that were made to help me did not come to fruition, and I just back off for a while. And now that I have the ability to do more as far as have the connections that I needed to get more in depth in helping SVG. And so we now have a little group,
organization.
yes, organization. It's a non-profit pretty much, and it's called We the People of SVG. And We the People of SVG is pretty much about we giving back into our country. It stems from our homes, then into our neighbors, then to our community. And I think that if everybody would participate in doing something every day to help their neighbors, we will get back to the basic of what We the People of SVG really stands for, is helping everyone. We work collaboratively together to help. And what we're doing right now is that in October, we're having an event where it's the fees are like $125 a person. We expect to have at least about 250 people there at the event. It's a charity auction fashion show. We have 10 people on our board, and I'm happy to say my brother and I are one of those people on the board. I'm the founder of We Are the People of SVG. And we have everybody else that's on the board. They're not from St. Vincent and the Grenadines at all. They're not even from the Caribbean. They're all people from the United States that have decided that they will do it because of the cause.
So they've come
the
together
rally
to help the people of St. Vincent.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I always believe that when people do something like that, it's because of the character of the founder that they rally around. And I'm so thankful to God that He has blessed me with wonderful people in my friendships. Great friends that I have, that if I ask them to do anything, they'll rally behind me. So this time what we're doing is that one of my appeal really, this time when I came to St. Vincent, is to find out from the Hotel Association which of the hotels want to donate at least a week stay, that we can use that week stay as leverage as far as an auction, a live auction.
Okay, and this is going to be a part of the effort in October.
In October.
Where the luncheon is concerned.
Yes, and everything that we've done, everything that we do from here on will go back towards the hospital, helping the hospital. Like whatever the hospital needs, we will just after the event every year, we will at least send a team down and find out what the hospital really in need of, and then we will then go and get those things and bring them back. And if there's things that need installing, they will come themselves and do the installation.
Okay. I've heard of similar efforts, and I want to commend you because this is a very important area, the area of healthcare and health services. And it's really great that you can come together and do this kind of work for the purpose of helping the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. On behalf of them, I really thank you. I want to say something about, you mentioned when you were speaking, the issue of collaboration. I believe strongly in what you're doing because I see it as an opportunity for us as a people to build further relationships with our own Vincentians who are living in the diaspora. And through this kind of collaboration and partnership, I see it as meeting two ends. One, we get to educate, as it were, re-educate and reinstill in our people values pertaining to helping one another, reaching out and helping your neighbor, because this is what you're essentially doing. You're Vincentian, you're living in America, but you're reaching back home across the seas to help your fellow Vincentians who are in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And we need to do more of this. The second thing it addresses is the issue of reducing and hopefully eliminating that what seems to be an over-dependency on central government that people have accumulated. Unfortunately, I've heard politicians speak about learned helplessness, but I think sometimes the way politicians treat people, we teach them helplessness. And this kind of cooperation and partnership with Vincentians in the diaspora can help to teach our people how, look, we ourselves can reach out to one another. We who are more fortunate can reach out to the persons who are less fortunate. And get certain things done without necessarily having to depend upon central government. Because the reality is, Hetty, no government can meet every single last needs of all of the people. And that's what we realize. I realize that government can't do everything. That's right. It doesn't matter who your prime minister, your president is. They just cannot. We have to be proactive in saying, I know that I can get this done.
And if you know that you have the people that you can collaborate well with, that has the gifts and talents, use those gifts and talents. Call upon them and say, hey, this is what we're doing right now. I know you're gifted in this area. Could you take this?
Yes.
I know somebody else who is. Could you please take this?
Yes.
And that is something that I think that if we work together like that, we will be so much better as a nation.
Definitely.
And not waiting on our government to do everything.
I totally agree with you, and this is why I encourage, and I commend your effort. I know there are other Vincentians abroad who are making similar efforts. I want to encourage you all as well, looking at this program, to continue and to get even more involved. Our people need you. Our people, we need each other. And this is why I really wanted to take the opportunity, Hetty, while you're here, to ensure that I get at least a few minutes with you, discussing what you're about and showcasing these things and letting the people out there know that there are people looking out for each other, there are people looking out for us, and we need to look out for each other, because there are things we can do for ourselves by rallying our forces and helping one another where the help is needed. So once again, let me give you an opportunity to say your final words to the people, and then as we wrap up.
My final word is I am so happy to be a Vincy. My navel string was buried right here. And I just believe we have to have hope. Hope deferred make the heart sick. But when that desire is met, it's like a tree of life. So it doesn't matter what's going on right now. It's easy for me to say that because I don't live here. But just have hope. Because at the end of this is a rainbow. There's the light waiting at the end of the tunnel.
I believe that.
And I truly believe that. So if I'm rallying with you, I'm fighting with you, I'm fighting for you. Just to have that peace of mind that we're all waiting for. And I understand what's going on. And but you know what? God is great. He is great, and He is greatly to be praised. If it hadn't been for Him, I wouldn't be here with you sitting down with the ability that I have to come before you and let you know the desire of my heart and the passion of my heart is to help SVG. And I get very passionate about it. Because I love my home and I love my people. And I want what is best for our country, my blessed St. Vincent. So I'm going to continue hoping and praying that we get out of this jam that we're in right now. And by the grace of God, we will. And I know that we will.
Yes, indeed.
So my love and passion and respect to all Vincentian, all of you. God bless. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hetty. God bless.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for
Thank
being
you
on this program, and may God be with you. Have a safe journey back to Arizona.
I will.
All right. Okay.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Yes, my dear people. That was Hetty, and we are truly grateful to her and to the many other Vincentians who are involved in charitable efforts to help their fellow Vincentians here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. This kind of support is to be encouraged, because we understand that we need each other, and we ought to have a kind spirit towards looking out for and helping one another, especially those of us who are in need. So thanks again, Hetty, and thank you, Vincentians, for your continued work, and we encourage you to continue to do so. And now in the second segment, we want to look at the very important issue that has been in the media in recent times, and it has to do with conflict of interest in the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Tourism Authority. Yes, conflict of interest in the Tourism Authority. I just want to lay the facts before you as they have been revealed, and to examine to some extent certain statements that were made by Mr. Glenn Beach, the Chief Executive Officer, CEO of the Tourism Authority, because I think it's important for us to see what has really happened. It is unfortunate that even in the face of wrongdoing and unethical behavior of public officials such as Mr. Beach, we are faced with a lot of lies and arrogance when they are called upon to give account, and this is unacceptable. But let me state the facts. First of all, you would know by now, or maybe you don't know, but on Monday 18th July 2011, the following things happened. The opposition leader, Honorable Anim Eustace, held a press conference in which he exposed documents to show that CEO of the Tourism Authority, Glenn Beach, had created a conflict of interest situation when, while Minister of Tourism, he registered a name of a company that had similar name and same directors to the public relations and marketing company, which is paid by the Tourism Authority to advertise St. Vincent and the Grenadines to the Caribbean region. Mr. Eustace also called for the CEO's immediate resignation and for the termination of the contract between Lonsdale Saatchi and Saatchi, that's the company in Trinidad, and the Tourism Authority. Mr. Eustace also called upon Minister of Tourism Saboto Caesar to inform St. Vincent and the Grenadines if the Tourism Authority had paid $75,000 to an artiste management company in Barbados. If so, why and for whose benefit? By the following day, Tuesday 19th, 2011, we had the Searchlight newspaper reporting that Mr. Glenn Beach denied that there was any conflict of interest, and he was asking for evidence to be brought as a condition for his resignation. He was saying, if you could bring evidence, then I will resign. But there's no conflict of interest, I didn't do anything wrong. That's what he was saying. By Wednesday, 20th July 2011, the CEO of the Tourism Authority, Mr. Beach, held a press conference, and he issued a press statement in reply to the things that the Honorable Annie Eustace, leader of the opposition, had said. He insisted that he had done nothing wrong and that there was no conflict of interest because there was no trading, no business done between him and the company in Trinidad. He also said that the Tourism Authority paid $75,000 for the creation of a video for Vincentian artist known as Skinny Fabulous. He also announced, Mr. Beach announced, that he had asked his lawyers to remove the company name from the register, but he hastened to claim that this was no proof that he had done anything wrong. Furthermore, at that press conference of the Tourism Authority CEO, we had the chairman of the Tourism Authority board, Miss Lucille Cozier, endorsing Beach as the CEO, as being the most qualified person for the job. She said he did nothing wrong, and she also indicated that Beach had spoken to the board about his company registration. We noted that the Minister of Tourism, Mr. Caesar, was absent from Beach's press conference. He did not answer Mr. Eustace's questions, but instead he issued a press release informing the opposition leader that he, Eustace, must put his questions to him on the order paper for Parliament. I would also like us to note that on that day, when the CEO of the Tourism Authority held his press conference, upon hearing that the chairman of the board confessed that they had knowledge of the registration of Mr. Beach's company, the Honorable Annie Eustace, leader of the opposition, called upon the entire board to resign, if that is the case. Now, I just wanted to lay those facts out to you, my dear people, and I want to examine briefly what really happened in Mr. Glenn Beach's press statement. What does it show? There's a lot of contradictions and, quite frankly, blatant lies that he told when he spoke to the nation on that Wednesday, 20th of July 2011 in his press conference. Some of the things I want to point out include, first of all, he spoke about the fact that he registered this company with the name, I want to quote him, by May, the election campaign period had already begun. My exit from active politics was imminent, so I decided to establish a company formed purely as a business option and an entry into the private sector for my life after active politics, end of quote. This is not true, because a former CEO or former minister, current CEO of the authority, did not leave active politics. During the election campaigning of 2010, he was seen on platforms campaigning actively for the Unity Labour Party, and he was in fact very much actively still involved in politics, even though he knew he was not running back for office for South Windward, and even though he knew he would no longer be minister after the dissolution of Parliament. But he was still minister until Parliament dissolved in November of 2010, and he was actively involved in campaigning for his party. So it is not true that he had exited active politics. And that is no justification, because you should not, as Minister of Tourism, have renamed your registered company to reflect a name that you yourself described as having the same intent of doing the same kind of work as the company in Trinidad, and a name that you claim was likened onto the sister company in Trinidad, and you registered two of the directors of the sister company in Trinidad as directors in your company. That created a clear conflict of interest because you were at the time the Minister of Tourism with oversight of the entire marketing budget of the ministry and of the Tourism Authority. Now, we go on further into his press statement. I want to examine some of the things. He said here, and I quote, "It is true that I could have been advised that after taking up the position of CEO of the Tourism Authority to have the company struck off the register. However, the mere fact that the company has never been engaged in any business or transaction of any sort and had absolutely no intention of so doing, this step was never made." Now, this statement consists of two contradictions. First of all, he, as it were, admits that he should have taken off the company's name after he took up the position of CEO of the Tourism Authority. But the truth is, sir, you shouldn't even have renamed the company while Minister of Tourism, while you still had oversight over the Tourism Authority and its marketing budget. That created the conflict of interest to begin with. Secondly, he claims that the fact that the company never did any work with the company in Trinidad shows that, and had absolutely no intention of so doing. That is not true. When you examine the legal documents, my dear people, you would find that in the legal documents it is proven that Mr. Beach declared the intent of the company to do business with the company in Trinidad, because he said in derivation of name, where does the name of the company derive from? When he had to declare that on the form, it said the name is derived from the type of business the company will be involved in and the name of its sister company, Trinidad and Tobago. End of quote. That statement itself shows the intent of his company to do business or transactions with the company in Trinidad. So for him to tell us he had absolutely no intention of doing business, that is a blatant lie. If you had no intention, you would not set up the company in the first place. If you had no intention, when you became CEO, as you say, you should have deregistered, as it were, the name of the company, but you didn't do that, thus showing your intent remained up to that point. It continues. Interestingly, he says, "Today, the 20th July, I have instructed my attorney to do the necessary legal work to have the company's name, Lonsdale Advertising and Marketing Communication, SVG Limited, removed from the company's register. I do this not because of any wrongdoing, but only to obviate the necessity to answer those who may seek to be malicious and mischievous in the future." That is totally out of order. You have asked your legal representatives to remove the name of the company from the register, but you boasted before that you did nothing wrong, there was no conflict of interest, and therefore you did nothing wrong. But how is it now, after the opposition leader's exposure, you have decided to remove the company's name? This action on the part of CEO Glenn Beach shows admission of guilt. It shows that he admits he should not have done what he did, and therefore he's taken steps, as it were, to correct it. And therefore, this, by our proof, shows us that he has in fact admitted to unethical and wrong behavior while Minister of Tourism and as CEO of the Ministry of Tourism, of the Tourism Authority, pardon. But as if that weren't enough, it goes on. He claims, up to this point, that in a press conference where a news article was done from it on April 1st, 2011, he claims, "At that press conference, I outlined exactly what I would have outlined to you thus far this morning. This was and continues to be public knowledge." I have to address this, my dear people. At that press conference, when the news reported April 1st, 2011, Searchlight newspaper, where the CEO talked about how he had registered this company, he did not tell us everything that he was now telling us in his recent press statement. He did not tell us, for example, that Kenneth and Christine James, the two persons he had as the directors on his company, were also in the management team of Lonsdale, Saatchi & Saatchi in Trinidad. He didn't tell us that. He neglected to tell us that fact, which is an important point. Also, in that article, Glenn Beach said, and I want to quote him, he said, and I quote, or the paper says, Beach, the ex-Minister of Tourism, said that his marketing company was completely different to that of Lonsdale Sashi and Sashi Trinidad and Tobago, which is responsible for the regional tourism marketing of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. That's what he said, that it was completely different. Yet, in illegal documents registered on May 7th, 2010, it describes the company as the name is derived from the type of business the company will be involved in and the name of its sister company, Trinidad and Tobago. How could your legal documents from about a year before say that the company's name is as a result of being affiliated with its sister company in Trinidad, but you come a year later in April 2011 and tell Vincentians that your company that you registered is completely different from the one in Trinidad? That is a blatant lie, Mr. CEO, and that's what you feed into the public of Vincentians, you who have great responsibility to market our country, you who are making over $15,000 of taxpayers' money every month in this country as CEO of the Tourism Authority. That is unacceptable. And you must stop telling lies to the public. Save yourself from the shame and embarrassment that you've already got yourself in, and do the honorable thing and resign, and stop answering with further lies, because you're putting yourself into a worse situation than you're already in. And we have to point these things out to you, because this is a part of serving the people, bringing the truth to you, my dear people. Furthermore, he goes on to give this tricky explanation about why it was said that it's a sister company, by claiming that if he had gone into business, it would have become a sister company. He said, the reality, however, is that the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Company has never been engaged in any form of trade with any company, nor with Lonsdale Sashi and Sashi. Hence, the intent to have the Trinidad Company become a sister company or an active partner was never materialized in any form or fashion. Now, that is trickery and lying, because in the first place, in the registration documents, it doesn't say the name of the company comes from a name that intends to become a sister company. It says sister company. So it's already a sister company by virtue of registration. Even though you didn't do actual business with the company, it is still there. And furthermore, you acknowledge here that there was intent, because you speak of intent to have the Trinidad Company become a sister company. Well, it is still intent, and it proves that you, Mr. Beach, ought to take responsibility, because you are here admitting that you had intention by setting up that company. You had intention of doing business, even while Minister of Tourism, of doing business with this other company that does work for the Ministry of Tourism, Tourism Authority in marketing. That is a clear conflict of interest. And I want to just give you a definition briefly for conflict of interest, for you to understand that a person doesn't have to have proof of actual business done to say that there's conflict of interest. I quote for you from Chris MacDonald, Michael MacDonald, and Wayne Norman, Charitable Conflicts of Interest, Journal of Business Ethics, August 2002. It says, and I quote, "We can define a conflict of interest as a situation in which a person has a private or personal interest sufficient to appear to influence the objective exercise of his or her official duties as, say, a public official, an employee, or a professional." In other words, if you create a situation by your actions, by your decisions, which could influence you in being objective in your work, in your decisions, because you are personally involved, like Mr. Beach was personally involved in private business arrangements with Kenneth and Christine James, the same two people he has to supervise and determine if their work is good enough, if their proposals are good enough to get the money from government to pay them to do business for us, to market St. Vincent. He put himself in a position of conflict of interest that was unacceptable, unethical, and I join with the opposition leader in saying he ought to resign. And since Ms. Lucille Kozia has claimed that the board knew about the registration of his company and none of them protested it and none of them said this wasn't good, it's conflict of interest, it's unethical, then they've brought the entire board of the authority into disrepute, and they too should resign. My dear people, we've come to the end of our program. Let me remind you that you may contact me at servingthepeople.ab@gmail.com, or you may call me at 528-1015. In next week's program, we hope to examine further this issue of conflict of interest in the Ministry of Tourism, Tourism's Authority. May God bless you, and may we hold fast to the truth, and may we demand integrity and uprightness from those who serve us. Amen.